Hello, I hope everybody is doing well. For this reflective video, we're going to be exploring the content taught in the EDBE 8Y08 course. This video kind of stands as an overview and a tribute to the lessons and teachings in the Digital Learners course and expresses why and how technology can be seamlessly integrated into classrooms and everyday lives. So just for a quick and kind of brief overview of the contents of the video, we're going to first be looking at TPAC and kind of what it is and what it stands for and what that might look like in a classroom. Then we're going to be moving on to some of the sessions and topics that we've talked about within the course. So first we're going to be kind of looking at week 1 and week 2. There was a little bit of overlap. So we're going to be talking about digital literacy and what digital footprints come within that. Then we're going to be moving on to week 3, which is a little bit more about netiquette and things like that and ethical uses within digital technologies. Then we're going to be moving on to week 4, which is technology tools and applications that can be used in and outside of the classroom. Then we're going to kind of be looking at my personal ideologies on technology within the classroom and learning and the positive and negatives. And lastly, we're going to just do a big overview of the course and my experience within it and kind of touch on that. Okay, so diving into the first topic, let's talk about TPAC and what it actually is. So TPAC stands for Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. It's a theory that was developed to explain the set of knowledge that teachers need to teach their students a subject, teach effectively, and use technology. So put simply, it's kind of the cross connection between technology, pedagogy, and content. So teaching with TPAC is actually a branch of tech ed, which is also known as technological education. So tech ed is intended to enrich students and their teachers on effective integration of information and communication technologies, which in short is called ICT in the classroom. As we continue to progress into a technology-dominant society, integrating technology within education can be used as really good resources and can help to better prepare our students for living in a digital world that we do. Now, with this in mind, it leads me to discuss some more ways and key themes and topics that are discussed in the 8Y08 Digital Learners course in relation to tech ed and TPAC. Okay. So looking back to week 1 and 2, a really primary topic that we spoke about in the course was a digital footprint and literacy. So more specifically, understanding the elements of a digital footprint while exploring ways to promote students' digital literacy. Now, in this week, in this TPAC, we touched upon different areas within digital literacy, and which is kind of a common theme throughout the entire course. As a group, we were able to strengthen our TPAC and digital competence by conversing online about our experience with digital literacy and what it kind of means to us as individuals. Coming together, we described digital literacy to having a rich understanding and skill set to keep on with the constant evolution of technology. So a basic example that we kind of discussed of digital literacy in the most basic aspect would just be to open and close documents on Google Docs such as Microsoft Word, Google Slides, Excel, things like that. But for a more advanced individual, digital literacy could look like media use and training, coding, online fraud identification, and more. Now, these skills are obviously increasingly relevant in everyday society, but I feel it is most importantly really important to be taught in classrooms. With our students constantly being exposed to media sources and new tech assistance in and outside of the classroom, it's so important that we as educators are engaging in rich TPAC activities so that we can properly educate our students on what it means to be digitally literate. So one prime example that we spoke about at the beginning of the session was a digital footprint, which is kind of a branch off of digital literacy. Now, this isn't only important for our students to learn, but it's really important for us as educators too. So by having a rich understanding of this, I, as a teacher candidate, was able to develop an understanding of week 2's content and explain my thinking by communicating with my peers on the technological site of Microsoft Teams. This aspect and communication skill not only reinforced my ideologies on digital literacy as an individual, but also allowed me to have an educator's perspective on the topic as well. Okay, so now we're moving forward on to the next session, and we're going to be looking at the principles, practices, ethical and responsible use of ICT in education, more specifically online safety, privacy, cyberbullying, digital footprint, and what it really boils down to is the topic of netiquette. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, netiquette stems from the sole word of etiquette, which stands for certain rules and expectations that apply to different scenarios in everyday livelihood. So I always kind of like to think of etiquette, an example of a golf course. So when I'm trying to describe what etiquette is to somebody. So just the idea that in their particular space, for example, being the golf course, you don't speak when somebody's hitting the ball, you follow the dress code, you don't drive on the greens. And it's just common acts of respect that are just kind of commonly known between everybody. So now transitioning basic etiquette to online, it's basically the common respect practices within the online space. So this could be things like the language you're using in an online classroom, social media pages, what your images are portraying, things like that. Now, in this TPAC, it really helped me to develop an understanding from an educator's perspective. In this session, we talked about the online pedagogy of online behavior and how it should be mirroring an in-person school etiquette. So for a more specific example, we decided to compare the etiquette of an in-class classroom to an online classroom. So in a traditional classroom, students are expected to raise their hands, speak kindly, engage in activities, and more. And with our education undergoing this major online transition to a lot of online learning in classrooms, it is more important now than ever than before for students to have a rich understanding of what netiquette is. So in an online learning environment, students should be utilizing netiquette every single day and every time they're online. In an online learning atmosphere, I found that this TPAC really reinforced my understanding of netiquette and online safety, not only for me as an individual, but it really allowed me to build a new understanding from an educator's viewpoint, which for me as a teacher candidate, I feel is really important. Okay, so moving on from week 3, we're going to be looking at week 4. And week 4 TPAC really built on our digital ability and resource use. So in this session, we spoke about how once students have a solid foundation of digital literacy, footprints, and basic netiquette skills, students and people can start to build on those skills and begin using online resources. In this week, we talked a lot about various multimedia tools and how they can build upon our learning. In this week particular, the biggest skill that I thought that we built on was the connection between online use and organization. Now, most people use organization skills every day in their lives, but with this technological way, it's very convenient. So for this, we specifically looked at Google Keep, which is an online resource available to everyone with a Google search engine. With Google Keep, you can make online lists and things like that. And I really liked this as a teacher candidate because it can use in and outside of the classroom. For me, myself, I can use that for keeping track of due dates, assignments that I'll need to make, and things like that, and just kind of on opposite end of the scale for the students. Now, I found that this week's TPAC session really enlightened my understanding of how online resources can be used in more way than one. Okay, so moving forward from the different TPAC topics that I found interesting over the course, I'm going to be talking about my current stance and personal ideologies on technology in the classroom. So I think that technology in the classroom is kind of going to be inevitable. This has kind of been extremized since the pandemic, meaning that I think it's best to embrace technology in the learning setting and use it as a tool rather than framing it as an enemy, which a lot of veteran teachers do. I think that as a teacher candidate, especially in the junior intermediate stream, for me personally, and the age of my student range will likely have kind of a foundation of digital literacy. So my will be more so how to teach them how to use technology effectively within the school and looking at those different resources and whatnot. So I would like my to teach my students resources such as Google Keep and other resources we spoke about in the class. I think it can be useful in and out of the classroom. I would also really like to emphasize the use of technology for my students who may be struggling with a learning disability, because we've learned that using tech resources, specifically for reading resources and organization, can really support their learning progresses. I would also love to continue to build on my TPAC skills, to build my knowledge so I can kind of share what I've learned with my future students. Okay, so just to kind of wrap things up, I'm just going to give you kind of my personal reflection on the course and what I've learned from it and what I'm going to be taking away from it. So going into this course, I feel that I had a basic understanding of digital literacy and its attributes. However, there are a lot of new skills and digital-based things that I learned. So first, I really enjoyed learning all about digital tools and how they can help me as a teacher candidate. I found it really neat how we made a digital portfolio of ourselves to professionally present myself online. I thought it was neat because I had become so accustomed to using social media sources as my only outlet to showcase myself. However, I did find it challenging some weeks to navigate the site, but with a little extra time and care, I was definitely able to complete it. I think that the course is overall a great experience, not only for me as a teacher candidate, but for anybody who wishes to present themselves in a professional way and learn more about digital tools and resources. I hope to continue building on my digital literacy and share it with others. I thank you very kindly for listening, and I hope you have a nice day.